Hey, sorry. Actually, I'm going to just stop the video for you. Everybody else is enjoying this video on 2D6 Dungeon, but I wanted to take a moment just for you to review your Solo RPG employee file. So if you could just take a seat. And I want you to know, uh, you know, I've been a part of Manalone HR for as long as the channel's existed, and we do occasionally sit down with some of the solo role players just to talk about their progress. So I want you to think of this as a motivation conversation rather than you being written up or anything like that. Not the point of that. We just want to make sure that we're on the same page about your goals, okay? So just reviewing your file and looking at the initial application, all good stuff, right? It states here that you got into solo play because you were excited about an opportunity to play outside of your group. You're having a hard time meshing with your group. You also wanted something to do to improve your creativity and enhance your writing. Very good. And it is stated at the beginning here that you were excited to try all different kinds of games and were very much looking forward to working. And we were excited to have you. First week was mostly orientation, so we're going to skip ahead to March 3rd. Okay. And again, these are just notes from your supervisor. They do this on everybody, so don't feel singled out by this. Okay, March 3rd. Supervisor states, employee arrived to solo RPG work at normal time. Stated, I'm going to play 4 Against Darkness today. I'm really looking forward to this. Cool. Employee was able to fill out character sheets for 4 characters and even created first floor of dungeon map. At observation at 14:30, employee was tapping pencil eraser on notebook with slightly furrowed brow. Approached by supervisor, asked what issue was with solo play, and employee states, I just need the right dice. I don't have the right dice for this game. Redirected by supervisor, saying that there was a possibility to use dice online or a variety of other options. But employee responds, no, if I'm going to play, I need just the right dice. You were then observed for about the next 3 hours scrolling on Amazon, which at first was for dice, but then after a while was just for like shoes and clothes and stuff like that. And then at about 17:30, you had moved on to something else, okay? Which happens, all right? And then today was a good day because it states that you were watching several YouTube videos on solo play, most of them being from the Manalone Network. That's very good. And you were, quote, feeling very hyped about today. Really feel like I'm going to break through the mold and finally play. Had conversation with employee about what they had recently done for solo play, which included buying a lot of solo books, looking at a lot of videos on YouTube, buying a lot of dice, and setting aside time to play on your own. That's great. All right. Employee decided to play Ironsworn, created character, initial loadout, even created the world to play in, and you needed a little bit of coaching based on like the Powered by the Apocalypse system, strong hit, weak hit, etc. But then around 1300, you were noticed that you were just sort of flipping back and forth in the book. When approached by supervisor, employee states, I don't know, maybe I don't like fantasy, maybe I want to do sci-fi like Starforged, or maybe Sundered Isles. When informed that those are completely possible and that we have those resources for you to play, you stated, no, the Kickstarter for Sundered Isles has not completed yet, so I guess I'll just wait till then to play because that will seem like a better time. And look, we're not trying to point out these we're not trying to embarrass you or anything, but if we do look forward to the day that Sundered Isles did come out, you did not play Sundered Isles on that day. Okay. And so this is what we're seeing a lot. I could read on and on, but I'm seeing a lot of preparation to play solo. But then when the rubber hits the road and you actually have to sit down and play the game, we're not seeing that connecting. Okay. In fact, since you started this hobby, we're not seeing any actual play. All right. Could you tell me what's happening? Oh, I see. You're just not feeling confident. Okay. You're worried that you'll do it wrong. You feel like you might not like it. Okay. I'll make a note of that. You want to know what feeling you're supposed to be getting out of it, and sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. Okay. Yeah, those are all valid. So like I said, the purpose of this meeting is not to get down on you. It's certainly not a punishment. We are going to put you on what is called a PIP, okay? And a PIP is a performance improvement plan. And a performance improvement plan is designed to create opportunity. That's what we like to say. It is a plan to create opportunity. And the 2 opportunities are the opportunity to be successful here or the opportunity to be successful elsewhere. Okay. Now, not everybody is going to love this hobby, but they're not going to know one way or another until they actually try it. And I'm going to give you an example. A couple years back, we worked with a fellow named Dallas, came in here, and he was from Dallas, and he was really, really gung-ho about solo play. And then he ended up leaving in a huff and saying, oh, this hobby is silly. I don't know why anyone would do this. He then went and worked on, I believe it was pottery. That was the hobby that he tried next. Did that for about 3 months. What do you know? Back on the doorstep, begging for the job back, finally plays the first solo game, okay? And in fact, was able to play Starforged and 4 Against Cthulhu. Loved it. And now, one of our star employees, Dallas from Dallas, he just got married. Yeah. To Austin, who is from San Antonio. Okay. So the point is, what we need from you is a demonstration of a commitment to the role and to solo play. So look, one of the all-time greats in our industry, geek gamers, say everything is play, preparation is play. We totally get that. But what we are asking is that by the end of the month, we would like you to put in 60 minutes of play, okay? And in fact, we have developed a time card for that, and this is part of your performance improvement plan. So you can see the example on the top that our CEO put in, just like the date, the time, the game that was played, and the amount of time played. And you can put in some notes right there. And you'll see the link down below for this. And we want everyone watching this right now to go ahead and do 60 minutes of play over the next few days. By the end of the month, we're looking to, as a team, so you're not in this alone. The entirety of the Man Alone community is going to try and together get 100 hours of solo play. I mean, that's a little warm up because we believe that we can do even better than that. But as of September 2024, we want everyone to log their minutes up to 60. And there's a little bit of a special bonus going on right now. This is an employee bonus plan that if, in addition to those 60 minutes, you're also able to make your first YouTube video, first solo YouTube video that's at least 10 minutes that features you, if not on screen, at least talking. Then we're also going to offer our employee bonus program, which is very aptly titled the Path to Glory bonus program. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to show you that right now. So we have this employee incentive. This employee incentive is available. It is sealed. And based on what people log on that spreadsheet, we'll review that in the beginning of October. And everybody who completes 60 minutes is going to get access to Man Alone's Year 0 Plus 1 supplement that's available on DriveThruRPG. That's a $3, $4 value for free. But those that upload a video, we're going to have the COO, BB, the CFO, the Chief Fun Officer, Mr. 55, and a fourth guest judge those videos. And to the best video, and now it has to be your first, at least solo RPG video on YouTube, we are going to award Path of Glory. We'll mail that right out to you. And if you're international, outside of the US or Canada, we have a gift card on DriveThruRPG that you can get something you like as well. But yeah, that's motivation right there. We don't want people working at this company to say, the only reason I do what I need to do is because I'm afraid of being punished. We don't believe in punishment. Okay. Yes. If you do not fulfill the requirements of this PIP, you will be let go. And I need to be straightforward with you about that. You will be let go. And just to protect the internal culture of this company, we will mock you. We will shame you. Okay. And that's just, that is only because we support you and we want the best. All right. To further motivate you, and remember, you're the only one seeing this part of the video right now. We'll get to the 2d6 dungeon right away. But to further motivate you, we want to leave on a really great note. So our marketing department has agreed that they are going to allow you to be the first person to see the new intro video to the Man Alone channel, okay? So good luck. We'll check in on that performance improvement plan. Don't let us down, but more importantly, don't let us, I did say that. Yes, don't let us down, okay? All right, enjoy the rest of the video. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Man Alone podcast. Today we're talking 2D6 Dungeon. And I also want to say, bienvenidos a todas las personas quienes están mirando de Latinoamérica. My estadísticas indican que tengo a lot of people who watch in Latin America. So welcome. I'm very happy you're here. We are going to talk about 2D6 Dungeon today from Toby Lancaster. And boy, howdy, am I excited to play this. I've been chopping at the bit, waiting, wanting to record this. Why haven't I? Well, for good reason, friends. Because I have been waiting on the final piece of this puzzle that is going to make this a magnificent experience. Just give me 1 second and I'll show you what the hell I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, caballeros y damas, we are introducing from Tabletop Engineer Plays the Man Alone customized left-handed game board specifically made for 2D6 Dungeon. We have a place for our cards. We got a place for our health. We got a place for our XP, our shift, our armor and block. We got a little cutout here to put our player sheet and hold our books, and we have all the reference cards up here. I mean, come on. This is like amazing. Look at that laser cut, personalized Man Alone. Props to all the left-handed brothers and sisters out there joining me from the left coast of your body. And we're going to, I wanted to do this to have the perfect little opening experience for 2D6 Dungeon. Toby Lancaster, again, thank you for sending the cards, the core game, and Tables Codex, the Layers expansion, and 2D6 Realms, and some this and that. Let's get into it. But right now I need to sit down because I'm standing in a very awkward position holding a bunch of stuff. You can't see it, but trust me. Okay, so today we're going to be playing a little bit of 2D6 Dungeon. This represents a map that I did for a little bit of a trial playthrough yesterday. And I think what we'll do, originally I thought that we would do like a rules overview, but I started trying to make a video on that. And I think if I did a rules overview and a playthrough, this video would be 6.5 hours long. That I know some of you would be like, yeah, great, love it. Unfortunately, I do have to do things like sleep, hygiene, nutrition from time to time. So what I'll do is we'll go through, I'll just give like a brief overview of what 2D6 Dungeon is. We'll try to play through a level, show off the combat. And then as I go through different things, I'll explain a little bit of what they are. But truly, Tabletop Engineer, the fellow who made this for me, and link to Etsy shop below. You can go to, I think, Somewheres by Jim is the name that will redirect you to it. Tabletop Engineer Plays has a fantastic playthrough of this that I think is really good at explaining it. Dungeon Delve did something on this, as well as Toby Lancaster himself. So that is not my forte, really explaining games. I think that we will be better served if I get to the action. Okay, so big picture, 2D6 Dungeon is a dungeon crawler. And if you are confused right now as a follower of this channel, you're probably like, I thought Man Alone doesn't really like dungeon crawls. And you'd be correct. I don't usually like dungeon crawlers. But I do feel really positive about this one for a variety of reasons that I will talk about at the end of the video. I also just think the combat system is really fun, and I think that Toby Lancaster takes some chances to do things a little bit different, defy expectations, and I think they really pay off in good ways. The way that character creation is managed, the way that weapons are managed, everything like that, I think defies a lot of the loot mechanics and normal mechanics we have. And even though in some areas I do like miss the old system a little bit, I think it's just worth it to introduce these new concepts, because in especially combat, it really pays off to not make combat dull, which I think in a lot of other dungeon crawlers, I'm very often left being like hit, miss, hiss, hiss. I cast hiss too. Okay, so let's get into what we have in front of us again. So normally, I believe that originally 2d6 Dungeon was divided into the core rules and the table codex as two separate books. And maybe they're still available like that, but the one I have, they're all in one. And most of what is in this book is actually the cards and all of the tables. The actual like play instructions are about this much, and the rest of it is the tables. I think if you are a new player or somebody who gets overwhelmed by a lot of crunch, looking through all these tables is going to run you off, and you're going to say, oh no, this game's not for me. I want something that's more of a snack than a meal. Let me say this. It is not complicated to run this game. Okay. Once you get the mechanics of how things work, it's fairly straightforward. In the back is an entire index of all the tables that has all of the acronyms. There is no reason you have to memorize the acronyms. In fact, some of the acronyms are so funny that you would never want to, like, oh, turn to the IAUT4 table. Don't you know that that's the interruptions and the unexpected table 4? There's no expectation here that you learn what that means by hand. The acronyms are just there so that I honestly think it's easier to like make tables out of them and refer to them in the text. And then also, if you get the cards, that's also very easy to look up the different creatures and stuff. But even so, in the codex, you'll be able to just look through and find the cards that you need. And the creation of the dungeon, I actually thought this would be a part that I would hate, and I really, really enjoyed it because I really like the system. Very simple. Does it get as granular as we'd like? Yes, actually it does. Okay, but like we're not going to be making maybe like dungeons that have like, you know, all different types of rooms and stuff, at least not at first. I'm sure once you get this pattern down, you'll be able to improvise and improve on the form. But in terms of like, if you have not had a lot of success with dungeon crawls before, if you even look through 4AD, I remember the first time I looked through 4AD and they had like the different table to draw out the different dungeon rooms. I do not come from OSR and never did dungeon crawls when I was young. I was like, I don't feel like doing this. I just want to generate like narrative encounters and stuff. This is a really good game to change your mind a little bit. And again, I don't want to give too much of my overall impressions. We'll do that at the end. But yeah, I think if you have this game and you want to play along while I'm doing this, I think this would be a good time to do it. Okay. So as far as character creation goes, in the core game, there is no character creation. Okay. There's no ancestry classes. There is ancestry options in the 2d6 realms, I believe, expansion. But as far as what you start with, the only thing you're choosing is your name. Mine is in honor of one of the OGs of this channel. This character's name is going to be Bork Tuckles. Start with 10 health out of 10, 0 XP, +2 shift, +1 discipline, 0 precision. And those are just set stats that you start with. Again, in the expansion, the ancestries will change that. We'll explain a little bit about what that is. And then you can choose from 3 weapons, which I know is the Great Axe, and I believe one of them is a sword. Weapon maneuvers. Let's look that up. And he spells maneuvers the British way, so it looks like maneuvers. Yeah, you could do a long sword, a great axe, or a heavy mace. And rather than like doing like, oh, I want a million different weapons that all do hit for either D4 or D6, what's really cool about this is you're going to roll 2 dice called your dice set. One of them primary, one of them secondary, and you're going to try to match the dice combinations that are on here. And if you match those, you do that move. And so you can start, I chose the Great Axe, and then you choose 2 level 1 moves. I chose one that's fairly easy to get, which is the Chop, D6 minus 1 attack if I get a 3 and a 3. And then a weighted charge is a little bit harder to get, 1 and a 2, and that's worth a D6 plus 3. The reason that it's harder to get a 1 and a 2 is because you're not actually rolling for a precise hit, right? So I'm not like, I could, but in order to do a weighted a chop, I need a 3 and a 3. So right here, I rolled a 2 and a 2. Rolling a 3 on both dice has pretty low odds, but you have this shift mechanic, and on every round of combat, I can use those shift points to shift up and up or down. And in fact, this is a great example of this because I can use one of those shift points here to shift that up to 3, one of them here to shift that up to 3. And now what do you know? I've just done the chop attack. That's D6 minus 1. So I'll roll a D6. A 5 minus 1 is 4. And so the attack is for 4. All right. We would then look at the creature card to see if their armor matches anything. We'll get into that as we go through it. Don't worry about that. But that's the basic function of it. And the reason why it's easier to get to 3s than it is a 1 is that you can shift up or down. And you can even use, like, if I had a 1 and a 3 and I want to try to get 3, 3, I could put both shift points on this and I got a 3, or I could divide up the shift points, whatever. But the weighted charge is a stronger attack and it's a 1, 2. And so if I rolled a 6 and a 2 and a 3, and I go, okay, I have 2 shift points, and I need to make these into 1 and 2. I can do 1 shift point to a 2 with the 3, and then I'll go from 6 up to 1. You can't do it. You can't do a bicycle straight. Remember that dummy who lived in your neighborhood when you were little who's like, I got a bicycle straight, queen, king, ace, 2, 3. And you're like, I never heard of that. He's like, yeah, that exists. And you lose all your pogs. Why am I playing poker for pogs in this scenario? Why wouldn't I be playing pogs for pogs? Anyways, so with a 6 and a 1, you can only shift up to 6 or down to 1, whereas with a 3, I can shift up or down into it depending on the dice. So what that amounts to is that statistically, it's easier to shift into those middle numbers other than the ones on the edges. Okay, so once we fill out this sheet, and I got a potion of healing, I got a scroll of reflex. I got a jerkin, which is a pickle. No, jerkin is like a helmet for armor. I roll a 4, or it's a 4. So if their attack has a 4 in it, it'll do -1 damage. You could add 3 pieces of armor as long as they're not on the same body part. At the beginning, you only get 1, but like you can't put 6 helmets, or you can't put 3 helmets on, but you could put like a breastplate, a helmet, I don't know, greaves, I forgot. There are 2 conditions, bloodied and soaked, and down here is a legend status tracker where we check one off as we go through the dungeon. And the overall point of this game is to make it through the 10 dungeon levels. I also have a backpack that can fit 10 items, large or heavy items. I put the lantern in there. I'm not actually sure if that's large or heavy. I typically just use like my own mind, and whereas I think use my own mind, ever heard of it? Whereas I think some people would say, oh, the lantern's a small item. It's like, I don't know, man. You ever got like one of those Coleman lanterns? Can you just like put that in your back pocket? No. Flint and steel, sure. Pouch, and a wax sealing kit, yes. I have 3 rations, and those will be important between dungeon levels. You'll eat rations. And these quick reference cards I have them, like, I put them in a little plastic and put them up here. So this just gives you information on how to roll to hit, how to shift the dice, armor deflection, and interrupt. Okay. And so interrupt is something that can happen during an attack maneuver. The creature will have an interrupt stat that, given certain conditions, they can interrupt your attack. And basically, you'll use each of the creature cards in real time. You'll have those right in front of you so that you can just, nothing to memorize or anything like that. It's all on the cards. There's also a mechanic called the combat fatigue die. And the combat fatigue die is, actually will use the Tabletop Engineers free die that they included. I know dice cost like 2 cents, but anytime I order something that's an RPG product and it comes with some dice, I'm just so thrilled, especially when it's like branded dice. So in honor of that, we'll set this to 1, and this is included in how much you can shift for both you and the enemy. In every round of combat, it goes up, which means that it becomes more likely that you will hit. And so narratively and mechanically, this does 2 things. Narratively, it represents like how as you actually would fight in combat, it would turn more and more into like a slobber knocker. And then also it serves to speed up the fight so that you're not having these typical combat rounds. Like if you play something like Pathfinder at the beginning of the game, you're just like miss, dodged, miss. And it helps it so that it's exciting and it's fun and it's meaningful, but it doesn't take forever. Okay. So what I'll do is when I draw a creature card, I'll probably just put it up here to reference from it. Each of the creature cards have a level on the top right. And the fact that there's different surprises and fun to be had at each level of the dungeon is part of what I really like about this game. In the core, you have a human ancestry dungeon and 10 levels to that. And what that means is it was made either like by or for humans, which I also like different dungeons being made by different groups, because that will change the nature of not only like what it looks like, but what's in there. You know, you're not gonna have a dinner table if a dungeon was made by a bunch of slugs or something. Health is right here. I'm just gonna count this as like the digits. So it'll be 10 health to start, 0 XP to start. We have our shift dice right up here so we can remember how much it is, or we can put the shift adjustment here on the card. And then we have the primary and secondaries down here, and a little bit of a writing area that will keep our sheet. And Toby also included this handy dandy little bookmark for me that has things like how to, what the different doors mean, and, you know, how to cast a spell and stuff like that. So really cool setup here. I just love how this feels to have this all in front of me right now. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know it's like I love to do things that just kind of make it feel like a special event to solo play. It really encourages it. And obviously, you know, not everybody is subject to this, but I was told by the HR, Solo Gaming HR, that some people are on a sort of I don't know what it was. They said they're not in trouble or anything, but it's like a job action thing where they have to do more solo play. So I guess that would be a good idea for anybody that needs to do that. What are they calling that? Oh, the Path to Glory program. That's right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I get a fresh sheet here, and I'm just going to make our first rectangle and put level 1 on it. We'll build up 1 here so that you can see me go through that. Just so everybody knows, the first thing you should know if you're going along with this as well is on one of these like point square sheets, it has to at least be 20 by 20. It could be more than that, but at least 20 by 20. And the larger the dungeon, the more options you're going to have. Another disclaimer, I am not by any means like a gifted dungeon drawer, so I'll just be doing my best. I'm going to set up the square, and then we'll go through how I'm going to generate each room. Okay, so I just had a brief episode of the Man Alone Golden Rule, which was whenever I'm looking for something, it's whenever I'm not looking for it, it's always in my way. And then whenever I'm looking for it, it disappears. And I guess in this case, it would be the Man Alone Golden Ruler, because it's a ruler that I'm missing. Nonetheless, so I made the box here. I'm not sure how many this is, but I know it's more than 20 squares. Or I guess 20 by 20. And I also left a space here at the bottom for the entrance room. And there should always be an entrance room that's somewhere between 6 squares and 12 squares. Okay. And when we're talking about squares, if you're a little bit new to this, the actual room, don't count these like little doorways here or anything, or pathways. So this one is 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So actually this is too small. No, this is fine. 2 by 5 is 10. So this is a 10 square room. They recommend you roll for it, but because it's either going to be like I just like choose it because it's between 6 and 12, so that there's not too many options with that. But the one lesson that I will say is I tried to put it over here, and you probably don't want to do that because the entrance room always has 3 exits, and it might be hard because you cannot like exit out of the side or anything. And you can't have a bunch of exits on each wall because it won't work out, right? So what you want to do is for each room, you're going to roll 2 dice, 2d6, and it's going to be height and length. Okay. And so say I roll this, it's going to be 3 by 4. All right. So 3 squares of height. And so let's just say I do it with this one here is, I'll do it manually so you can see it. It would be 1, 2, 3, and then 4 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Rise over run. And that would be the size of the room. And you notice that for this one, I'm kind of like making it pretty light because I then need to roll the exits. And the exits of the room, I think there's a quick one here. Yeah, so you roll a d6 for exits, and 1 is no exits, is a dead end. 2 to 3, move this a little closer. 2 to 3 is 1 exit, 4 to 5, 2, and a 6 is 3. So we have 5, that's going to be 2 exits. And you could really put the exits, like once you figure out how to draw the maps, you could put them in places that make sense. But if you want to do it randomized, what they recommend is just kind of like choose a wall that going clockwise is not on the same wall that the room opened in. And so I'll just go like that. And then just to make sure that I'm like using the whole map, I will put the second exit out this way. And then once I'm done with that, I will, when I have a ruler, use a ruler to just trace around here and fill in the rest of the room. Now, you could make the whole map, and I like to make the whole like design of the map before I start the crawl. And then I like to generate the details of the room as I enter the room, so that it's like still surprising to me. I would say that you could like generate the map as you went through it. But I don't know, that experience would seem a little bit weird to me. Although if you wanted to have a limited view of the floor, you can do that. What I imagine, just because I suck at this, is I would like play through 10 rooms, and then all of a sudden I'd realize I did something wrong or I don't have it set up right, and I'd be like, oh man, I wasted it, which like you can't really do anything wrong. But let's just do another one. Just to show an example of something else that could come up. Oh, I hate that glare. All right, so if you roll doubles, let's say I roll a 4 and a 4, it's going to be 4 height over 4 width, plus you roll again, all right? And so now it's 10 height, and then 3 plus 4 is 7, so it's going to be 10 by 7. And again, right up here, when you roll for room size, the primary is going to be x-axis, secondary y, and if it's one, if one of them is 1, it's going to be a corridor, right? Because if either height or width is 1, then it's just going to be like, even if it was 1 by 6, it would just be like 6 spaces long, each wall, the walls 1 square apart, so it would just be a hallway. And when you roll a doubles, you roll again to make a larger room, right? So I have a 10 by 7, and I think I actually probably mix this up because the primary should be the x-axis and the secondary y. I usually just do rise over run. I don't think there's any problem with that. So now I know that this room is going to be 10 high, so I'll make one that goes down here. And a lot of times, I think one of the best ways just to make sure that you do it right is counting up with the dots, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I know that it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then from there, I know I can just kind of like match it up down on the same one here. And then I will connect all of them again. You know what? Let's try rolling the doors that we have this time. So 5 again, we have 2 doors. So I'm going to make a door that is right here. And I'm also going to make a door that is, because this is going to kind of lead me into the wall and you can't extend me on the wall, I'll make another door that is right here. And then I'll just fill in the sides a little bit lightly here. And later I'll go back with like my non-ruler with my bookmark and get it all nice and groovy. And then at the end, I do like a little bit of shading. Now, another thing that at this point we want to know is what doors are here. And this is a part I do save for when I'm rolling up the individual rooms, because when you get to that part, when you're on level 1, you'll go to the level 1 table of rooms. And let's see here. Level 1. And each level will have some like different changes and instructions that make it unique. Level 1 and 2 tables, the level 1 entry and level 2 domain are where the lower level humans live and work. It's an area where loot, captives, and resources from raids are kept. Expect to find living spaces, prisons, stores, and hints of the infernal order. And so I will go to the level 1 rooms, and then based on how big the room is, all right? So this one is 10 by 7, right? And so that's going to clearly be more than 32 squares. So that's a large room. So I would roll on the large room table to figure out what it is. And I guess we'll just do this one as an example here. I roll 2d6 and I get a 2. And so this is a stone workshop. And it says this large space has rough walls and piles of stone laying everywhere. The remains of a large stone statue that has been smashed. There is no one here, and it has wooden doors, okay? And that's going to mean something about how we handle the doors. And I'm sure as we get further... Jesus, sorry. Let me move this microphone up. As we get further into the dungeon, there's probably going to be more difficulties, reinforced doors, stone slabs, etc. But for the starting levels, it looks like right now for these rooms, wooden doors, archways, less reinforced doors, and we'll represent those doors like whatever exit it says this room has, those are all the exits in the room. And so these rooms have wooden doors, and so I'm going to just put the symbol for wooden doors, which looks like just a box going through, let's see here. Yeah, a box. It's this one on the bottom right. A box, like a little rectangle. And I really suck at this. I don't know why. Because I always make the box pretty poorly. I'll try my best. Yeah, that looks... You need a really nice sharpened pencil. And actually, if it's like that little doorway there, you should really put it in the middle just to represent that it's this egress, space of egress, right? So... there's that door, and we'll make them into wooden doors. And good. Okay, so they then say that you could also label that room. I usually use a little bit lighter of a pencil here just so that I remember what it is, and it is a stone workshop. Now, for the other ones, we'll roll these up as we encounter them, but I am going to build out the rest of the map just so that I can get a sense of like how many small and medium rooms I have. So if it's 32 squares or larger, you work off the large rooms. If it is if it is less than 32, but more than, what's the small one? I forget. 6. Then it's just a normal room, and there's an option for level 1 rooms. You roll up on that. And then if it's 6 squares or smaller, they have these like little tiny rooms that have very specific things in them. Additionally, you'll see on this table whether the rooms are unique or not. That doesn't mean like, oh, the decorating's so unique. It means, can there be more than one of these rooms on a level? And if it says it's unique and you roll that, you have to re-roll because you can't have more than one like marble halls on the floor. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to just fill in the rest of this map. And again, if you're also doing this, take some time to fill in the rest of the map if that's what you're interested in. Sorry, I meant like if that's how you're interested in playing. That sounded really anyways. All right, so this one right here is supposed to be wider. It was a double, but you can only run it up to the outer wall. So I'll just stop it here. And now I guess it's a room that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by 2. And so that would be 16 squares. It would be a normal room. All right, another good one. These cannot butt up against each other. And so as long as you're able to like maintain the correct amount of squares in the end, you could sort of draw around these other rooms. There should be a space between them. And then you go up and around. And now this, I might be speaking blasphemy to some people who do dungeon crawls, but if you can't get it exactly, just make sure that you stay in the same range of like, is it a small room, large room, or regular? This hallway here is 5 by 1, and I kind of want to curl it up, so I'm just going to, rather than making it a straight line, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares instead, so that I can give myself more room to create up here. Okay, pretty cool. And I'm just going to kind of go over the lines and maybe do like a little bit of shading, and you can do the same if you'd like. What I did last time, instead of just naming all of the rooms, just so that I can discover them as I go through, is I'm just going to mark which ones are like large, regular, small. So let me do that now. I also chose right here, you choose one of the rooms to be like the last room, and that's where you put the staircase down. And usually like there's a pretty intuitive logic to it. You're not going to put it right next to the entrance. You're not going to put it in the second room, etc. So this looks like the one that I would leave from. Then I use a pen to just like put some constraints around the whole thing, just to make sure that I stay within those bounds. Although sometimes I'll use pen on the inside, but what I find is as I'm going through it, I find that sometimes I make a little mistake where like I go into the outer space or the inner space. So I'll usually keep that in pencil, but I might darken it a little bit. Oh yeah, looking good. Yes. A little bit of shading now. Doing a little bit of a lazier shade than I normally do. Usually I love like the cross stitch shade, but in the interest of time, I think I am just going to fill in like this. And the reason, well, there's really couple reasons why shading is important. From a mechanical standpoint, shading makes sure that you stay within the inside zone rather than the outside zone of the dungeon. And this is something that happens to me a whole lot, is that I suddenly accidentally go like into the negative space, like the walls, and then I'm like, drawing an MC Escher dungeon that is not possible by the known laws of physics. All right, I'm going to finish this. Oh, and you ever heard the phrase like shoot for the stars, and then if you miss, you'll reach. Wait, you're supposed to shoot for the moon, and if you don't quite hit it, you'll land amongst the stars. I have a similar one. It's about shading dungeons, and about a lot of things, and that is start lazy because you'll definitely finish lazy, right? And so if you start like this is just way too much shading for me to want to do on, like a Tuesday night. And so what you'll notice is if you start like really careful, like making like really careful hash lines, by the end of it, you're going to be doing this anyway. So you might as well just, start lazy and enjoy yourself and listen to some music. What's popular these days? Flagpole Sitta by Rodney Danger. All right, what do you think? Not bad, right? So we'll call this level 1. And we'll enter here. And we'll exit there. Now, you don't have to go to every room. This one, we'll see how it flows. And I just, again, another little thing that I do, you don't have to do, is I put the lines here just to signify where there's doors as I'm building it, just to keep that in mind. And so I'm now just going to, for my own edification, label these either large, medium, small, to see what the distribution is. Again, large rooms are 32 squares or larger. Regular rooms are less than 32. And more than 6, and then small rooms are 6 or smaller. Okay, pretty good spread here. I just put like a triangle in the regular rooms, a circle in the small ones, and a square in the large in just the corner here. And so it looks like we have 4 large rooms, 32 squares or bigger, 10 regular rooms, which would be what we expect, and then just 2 small rooms, which I think is also what we would expect because those are pretty specific rooms. And so 16 rooms overall. I'd say a pretty good dungeon we got here. What do you think? All right, let's see how we crawl this puppy. Okay, so let's put ourselves in this first room here and decide which way to go. Now, when you get to the final room, now I've listed it here, but sometimes I would suppose that as I go further, I would probably assign what room I'm in when I'm about. Toby recommends when you're done with about 75% of the map. In fact, if you're sort of trapped at 50% of the map, there's a function to make like secret doors or secret rooms, I think. But for now, we'll just make our way up here. Just to try a few different things out, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this normal room over here and roll that up. And I'm going to bookmark this book so that this process is a little bit easier. 1 second. Okay, so if you want the primo experience with this book, my recommendation is to get those little sticky tabs that stick out of the book. We could do a pretty good job here just with the 2 bookmarks that are included. The first one I just have with the level 1 rooms because I know I'm going to be using that very often. And then the other one that's sort of a perma bookmark is the tables index that lists all the tables, okay? So we know we're going to a regular room. And so let's see what we got here. Maybe I should have just some dice that I can keep up here so I don't have to, well, that's fine. All right, a 1 and a 6. All right, this is, that's level 2 rooms. Okay, a 1 and a 6 is a meeting room. 3 simple chairs are tucked in around a makeshift wooden table. 2 people stand as you enter. Okay, cool. So let's just make sure that we know what this room is. And they recommend you just put like a little label down in the bottom right here. And you can, obviously you could do what you want. You could eat this book if you want. No, don't do that. How much time I'm going to spend like drawing in what is in here? Probably right now, not much. When I'm playing, it depends how I'm feeling. I might make like a little bit of a design on there, but this one says, meeting room, 3 simple chairs are tucked in around a makeshift wooden table. 2 people stand as you enter. Roll on L1M1 and L1R1. If you survive, roll on CT1. Okay, so again, this is like, you know what, the glare of this is really bothering me. I don't know if I have a problem. I think I do. Okay, problem solved. All right, so this is the place here, I think, when we start seeing a lot of acronyms, we start going, whoa, I can't do it. But just chill, just chill. So the first one here, meeting room, 2 people stand as you enter, roll on L1M. So we go to this, we look up L1M, we know that's the level 1 Marshal, and that's on page 95. So we go to page 95. Okay, and then it says L1M. As you 2 people stand as you enter. Roll on L1M1 and L1R1. So L1M here is level 1 Marshal. Oh, -1. -1, okay? And the purpose of that is because it's an earlier level, they're probably trying to not lower your result, because as the result goes up, it gets more and more difficult. All right, so we'll roll 1d6 here, and that's a 6. So it goes down, and it is a warrior, a 4. And the L1R -1. L1R is level 1 religious enemy. And that's a -1 as well. And so that is a 2, 1, a crazed preacher. Okay, so right now in this room, we have a crazed preacher and a level 1 -1, a warrior. Okay, and then it says, if you survive, go to CT, but let's not even worry about that. What we're going to do, because we might not survive, right? We might not survive. So what we're going to do is go through the creature cards, and we're going to find a crazed preacher and a warrior. Warrior. I'm not seeing a crazed preacher. That seems to be something that would really stick out. One moment. Okay, got it. I just had some of my cards mixed in with level 2. Again, they'll say like level 1 on the top right here. And not a, crazed preacher is right here. So let's just take a look at the warrior. HP 9, HP Lovecraft. No, XP 22, that's what I'll get. And their shift is a 1. And if I'm done, I roll on PT 1. They have an interrupt, which is a bracer block on primary 4s. Okay, so what that means is when I roll my primary and my secondary, right? On primary 4s, so if I rolled a 4 on my primary, when I roll a 4, the warrior will interrupt with a -1 damage. Okay, so that means that if like I roll, if I shift into a 4 or roll a 4, whatever is going to be the result that leads to an attack, when I roll again to see the damage, say I roll a 6 and it's, -6 -1, 5. Because I rolled a primary 4 on that dice set, that would be -1, so it would be 4 damage. And then on secondary 3s, it's also -1 damage. There's a dodge, okay? I go first in combat, and then the enemies go. And they also have the same thing. They're trying to get a dice set attack. So, and you use their shift in whatever way leads to the most damage. So you can't be like, oh, I don't want to use their shift. I want to shift them away so they miss. No. So if they rolled a 4 and a 2, you would use their shift to shift the 2 up into a 3, and it would be a flurry. Now, if you had a situation where the dice could be shifted using their shift into either of those, then you would do the one that does potentially more damage based on the equation. And then if they did attack, I would see if their numbers matched my armor numbers to see if I'm able to block any of that damage as well. Okay. So again, the dice set is the two, I guess, potentially more, but the dice you roll to see if you hit, you use your shift to adjust that into one of your attacks. And then once you succeed and get a hit on a dice set, you roll to see what your damage is, whatever it says. And then you're going to look to see if their numbers, their interrupts would lead to any of that damage being mitigated. And then you do their maneuvers, roll their dice sets, shift for them in the most advantageous way possible. Check your armor. Now, whenever there is a nat double 6s rolled, or a nat 1 roll that is either a mishap attack and a prime attack roll, and those have specific instructions. And then there's also a thing that is like, I think it's called exact strike, whereas if I say need a 1 and a 2 for my attack, if I roll a 1 and a 2 exactly and don't have to shift into it, there's, I think, a damage modifier for that. Oh, that's called an exact strike. Achieving this without shifting the dice is known as an exact strike, which represents the adventurer's weapon expertise. Great. Okay, so let's see if, given the nonsense that I just said, if I can go through a round of combat here. So what we'll do is we're also going to just go in order in terms of the enemies. The initiative would be, unless I misread something, the initiative would just be to go in a circle based on which ones you brought up. So the first one we'll do is the warrior, and then the crazed preacher in terms of my own attacks. All right. So remember, I am looking to hit my attacks, which are a 3 and a 2 for the chop and a 1 and a 2 for the weighted charge. We will always make the black die the primary and the red die the secondary. All right. And if I forget that, then it's the opposite. All right. So cool. So I got a 2 and a 5. I have 2 shift points that I can use to shift this in either direction. And so I know I'm probably not going to get to the weighted charge because there's no way to turn. Even if I used all my shift points, I would only be able to get this 5 down to a 3. And my weighted charge requires a 1 and a 2. But my chop requires a 3 and a 3. So do I have enough shift points? Well, I could use 1 die to shift this up to a 3. And I can use 1 die to shift this down to a 4. But unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. So for me, that's a miss. All right. So then we'll go to the warrior. The warrior is looking to do either a 4-3 or a 1-2. And they have 1 shift point. So they have a 4 and a 5. So with 1 shift point, they're not able to get to a 4 or a 3. And then their other one is a 1 and a 2, which they're definitely not able to get to. The preacher is looking for the 4-3. This is a classic preacher attack called the Wild Scratch. I remember my days as an altar boy. When I saw that priest come in rolling 4s and 3s, I went running to the hills. 5 and a 5, their shift is 1. They also do not shift. So then it will go back around to me, and the fatigue die will then go up. And let me read this again. Start the die at 1. Every time you finish a combat round, turn the fatigue die up by 1 number. When you reach 4, plus 1 shift, 5 plus 2 shift, and 6 plus 3 shift. Shift remains at plus 3 until the combat is over. And so until it gets to 4, the fatigue is not going to have an effect, which is pretty good because it wouldn't make sense for that to start having effect right away. Because then they might as well calculate that 1 in all the time. But a reminder, this shift applies to everyone. They also get to shift, okay? Now, let me look here. Do I want to use anything? I have this scroll of reflex. Why don't I check and see if, without completely boring everyone to tears, if I can look up that scroll. And then there's a starting scroll table on 69. And if I recall correctly, oh, here's a nice algorithm. If I recall correctly, starting scroll, I took scroll of reflexes plus 1 shift for 1 combat. We'll try to do that at the other combat because I'm half convinced that you have to do that for some reason. I don't know. We'll look up how to do that on the next combat. So we'll go back to me and a 4 and a 5. Again, I'm looking for either a 3-3 or a 1-2. I think that's what I rolled last time. That will not do it. To the warrior, 1 and a 3. And now their slash is 1-2. So in fact, this would shift down into that. And so that's going to be D6 minus 2 damage. And so that would be 5 minus 1. That would be 4. What's that? Yeah, D6 minus 2. Okay, so that would be 3 damage. And then we would check mine to see if my armor is going to do anything. And because the jerkin is a 4, there's no 4 here in the shift die. That would just result in a minus 3 damage, right? So I go down from 10 to 7. And this could be a real quick demonstration. Oop, that's 70. So this would go to a 0 and then to a 7. Awesome. Once again, thank you, Tabletop Engineer. This just looks great. Okay, now we're going to go to the Scratch and Preacher. 6 and a 3. They need to get to a 4 and a 3. That is not going to happen. And so we will increase the fatigue die up to 3. Now, right here, we're seeing why the fatigue dice is nice, because it's like if I didn't have something that was increasing the threat level or increasing the stakes, we might have just this long fight where it's like miss, miss, miss. All right, because on the next one, we get a +1 shift. So again, it's my turn. 1 and a 6. And there's nothing I'm going to be able to do with that because there's no way I can get the 6 down to a 3, which I would need for a chop. So I miss again. I have not had good luck. 4 and a 5 with the warrior. And he needs a 4-3 or a 1-2 with just 1 shift. He is not going to get it, but I will say next round with the fatigue up, he would be able to do that. And in fact, I'm going to put another die here just to represent the shift adjustment once that comes into effect. So right now there's no fatigue shift, but we'll put this here once we reach 4, if we reach 4. All right, Scratch and Preach, 4 and a 2. And yes, this will work because he's going to shift into a 4 and a 3. My Jerkin has a 4 dice set, so whatever he rolls, it's going to be -1 damage. It's a D6 -3. 6. Okay, so that's a 3 -2. That is going to hit me for 2. So I'm down to 5. And I do have 1 potion, I think. Yes, I do. So that'll go back to me, and now it's going to go up to a 4, and this is going to set that shift adjustment to 1. So now I can move 3 in any direction. All right, so I'm going to go for the hit again, and a 6 and a 5 doesn't really get worse than that. Unbelievably, that is still a miss, even with that huge shift. So with the warrior 4 and a 5, can we get them down to a 4 and a 3? That's what he needs, the closest. So we have he has 2 shift, so it could be a 4. Yeah, that'll shift it down to a 3, which is a flurry. That's a D6 -3 damage. The 4 there means that my Jerkin does work. Another damn 6. So D6 -3 is 3, -1 is 2 damage. So I am down to 3. Boy, oh boy. Okay, now the Preacher, 1 and a 1. That is a mishap attack roll. The Wild Preacher becomes caught up in their robes and misses a round of combat. Phew! They got caught in their robes. So now it'll go back to me. The dice is going to go up to a 5, and that means the shift is 2. I mean, come on, I got to get something here. Whew, okay, a 2 and a 3. I have 2 points here to work with. I also have 2 of my own shift points. But really, all I need to do is my own, because the weighted charge, I can shift this down to 1, and a 1 and a 2 is going to allow me to do the weighted charge, which is D6 +3. Now, the warrior, does he have any interrupts? Bracer block on primary, 4, no. And dodge on secondary, 3s, no. So this should be a pure hit. Let's hope I get a D6 because it's D6 +3. Yes, a 6. 6 +3. That is going to nab this guy for 9, which is exactly what the warrior's HP has. So we'll keep the card here just so that we could see the XP and if there's any loot or anything. This Preacher misses the round. You know, his robe is over his head. He's going, and we're going to go up to the 6, and now the shift is going to remain at 3. It's almost certain that I'll be able to get a hit off on this guy. I roll a 5 and a 5, terrible roll, but because I have so many shift points, I'll use my 2 shift points to get this down to a 3, and then I'll use some of the fatigue shift points to get that down to a 3. 3 and 3 is a D6 1. His interrupt is only on 4s, so this is going to be a pure hit of D6 -1 and a 4. So that's going to hit for 3. Oof, just missed it. The Preacher HP is a 4, so he's down to a 1. And let's see here. Okay, the Preacher is able to attack now. They have a lot of shifting they're able to do. Their only attack is a 4 and a 3, and they'll definitely be able to hit that. Now, this could take me out of the game. This is a D6 -3. However, because it's a 4, my Jerkin will take 1 of the damage, so we need this to be D6 -3 If it was a D6, that would be 3 minus 2. I think he can get me down to 1 even with a D6, but let's hope it's less than that. So a 6 minus 3 is a 3 hit, minus 1 for my jerkin, that's 2. Minus 1 for my jerkin, that's 2. So I'm down to 1 HP. I'm bleeding bloody, man. I shouldn't probably... right now, my hero's like, man, I should not have come into this dungeon. I am not prepared. But with one last smack to the Facha de Brute, my hero Bork Tuckles is going to do a 2 and a 3. And we should be able to roll that one down into a 1 to do a weighted charge, which almost definitely is going to take out Mr. Crazed Preacher and his robes. And so we'll roll. It's D6 plus 3. Huge hit. Going to hit him for a 9. No dodge there, so he is out. So that's a tough first room, I'll tell you that, because I played through this before. To have 2 enemies right up front, pretty good enemies with as many bad rolls as I had. So what do we get now? We're going to get 2 treasures, roll on RPT 1, roll on PT 1, XP 22, and 5. So what do we do with that XP? Well, let me show you. Okay, if we take a look at the adventure level table, I start out at raw, and the next number and max level of maneuvers I get is just 2, which is what we're at. XP level, to level up, I need 100, and then I'll get, I get to adjust my shift, discipline, and precision by whatever it says on the next line. So it looks like my precision will go up, and my base HP will go to 20, but then I'll need 500 to go from novice to apprentice. So I don't think I'll quite get that here because the XP is 5 and 22. So my XP is going to be at 27. But and we may need to use the double 10s after a while on this because the XP goes up to like 25,000. So I wonder if I could do that if it was 25 0 0 0 0. Yeah, I think that would just make it. All right, so the XP is 22 plus 5, 27. So I have 27 XP, and then let's see what I get on the loot. Hopefully something to heal. If not, we'll see how to use this potion here. All right, so we want to, what is it? Oh, let's take a look. We want to roll on PT1 and RPT1. So we're just going to go back to this. So we'll see PT1 is pouch tables 1 and 2. That's on page 80, and since we're here, religious pouch on 82. So we're going to go to 80 and 82. And I don't know if it's just going to give us something or if we're going to have to roll for it. But knowing this game, we'll probably roll for it. And that I like that. That's something I'm going to talk about in my sort of summary of what I think of the game at the end here. So let's do PT1. We'll roll 2d6. And we're going to do a 2 and a 1. Oh, it's a... I see. So it's just 3. Nothing. The pouch is empty. Okay. And then religious pouch 1. Let's hope for something real nice here. We'll take it. 6. Inside the pouch are some human teeth. Wonderful. Just what I needed. Some nice human teeth. You can barter those. Who knows? We're going to definitely put that on a small item. Oh boy, that is not a... Must be... Do human teeth. Very good. So I definitely need to use my potion of healing because I'm not going to get very far without that. And so we'll have to remember this page, which shows death. If I want to know how to use the potions, I would guess that I would look. Yep, so that works. POT 1 to 4 potions table 1 to 4 is on page 73. And oh, I see. That's just telling me like the potion. If I find one, it's a randomizer. So let me look at see if I could find what the potions do. Extremely specific table of contents. Very, very helpful. Okay. Okay. So the potion's going to restore 10, which is great. Because my health is not 27. My health was 1, and now it's going to be plus 10, which would be 11, but my max right now is 10. By the way, when you level up, you instantly, regardless of like if your max HP goes up or not, your current health goes up by 10. And my XP is 27. I should say, besides mixing up my XP and health during that combat, the other thing I have to pay attention to, it's easy to forget, is we still want to focus on the difference between primary and secondary even during enemy attacks, because my armor, when there's only one die for the dice set, that only works if it matches the enemy's primary die. And so I kind of lost track of that and looked at either die, which is okay. The other thing, which I didn't realize before, is you could use potions at any time, but if you use it during combat, it does take up your attack. You can still roll your primary and secondary to see if you can, defend or anything like that, but you're not able to attack because, in the words of the book, and I really enjoy this word, if you quaff a potion. So we're going to use up that potion of healing, hopefully, with our human teeth in hand. Okay, the human teeth, you could say, well, that's absurd. What do I need that for? That is part of the game I really like, is that there's both a crafting mechanic. You can make things like potion bombs and other things. And there's also like a cooking. I mean, I guess it's also a crafting thing, but you can get different pieces of food. And though you can't do much with them on their own, you can combine them to create, rations or potions or other things like that. And so, all right, let's reset the fatigue die. The shift adjustment is not in effect. Let's make sure we have everything correct here. Let's go to the next room. All right, so I like to just give it a little bit of a shading. The entrance room, we are done with that. And I did forget, this is kind of cool, I did forget this meeting room here. In addition to finishing it, it says if you survive, you get to go to table. The hell table was it? CR1. So this priest and warrior are having a meeting. All of a sudden I walk in. These jerks don't even ask me, who am I? What do I like? Am I, a good They don't care. They really don't care. Oh, good. So I get chess table 178. And what goodies do I get? What if it just said more human teeth? Bucket load of human teeth. Okay, chess table 1. That is going to be a 2d6. I'm going to use my little NPC generator die from a Tower House Creative, because it also has just numbers on it. A 2, 2, 4. The box is full of... Okay. The box is full of twisted pieces of metal and a split bone. So, more bones. Very cool. But we can probably be imaginative about that. We might be able to use that in some way. So we'll say twisted metal and a split bone. Great. All right, so we'll go back out because there's no way out of here, and we'll go up into this room, which is another regular sized room. And let's find out what is shaken here. So level 1 rooms. Let's roll the 2d6. 2 and a 2 again. Scuffed up space. There's a pile of rubbish here, and the floor is covered in scuff marks. You can check the rubbish pile, roll on table RUPT1, and then on IAUT1. I hope that RUPT is something about like rubbish. All right, so rubbish. The rubbish RUPT. I am PT as well. Pete and Pete. Rubbish pile 1 is on page 84. Love a good rubbish. Oh, I didn't even check what the name of that room was. I'll go back to it. It was, oh, a scuffed up space. That's right. Archways, not unique. So archways should be pretty easy to go through. Am I having trouble? 84. RUPT, rubbish pile table 1. Give me some more teeth. 2. Okay, what is going on? I'm not allowing myself to roll. So like dice cursed. All right, 5, 4, 9. On closer inspection, this is a burnt remains of an animal. I'm not even kidding. Okay. This is the burnt remains of an animal, and there are fragments of bone. You know what? I will go back to 4. Whatever here is now a burnt pile of ash. Fine. I don't want any more bones. No more bones. And I go to IUAT. 4. Interruptions and the Unexpected, Table 4, Part 2, on page 136. So I guess we're about to have a little interruption, friends. Which one am I rolling on? IUAT 1 or 2? That's level 6. Oh, this is probably the one. 107. The one room, scuffed up space, IAUT 1. So IAUT 1. Oh, it must actually be in this section here. Yeah, I would definitely get like those little stickers. That would make it a very smooth experience. All right, so this is IUAT 1, Interruptions and the Unexpected, Table 1. So let's roll here. And a 5 and 2. I should be using primary, secondary, but that's okay. 5 and 2. There is a chalkboard here that reads, Krellis the Cleric is delivering the package today. Krellis Quest. If you encounter a dark cleric, roll d6. 1 - 3. The cleric is Krellis, and you defeat him. You find a package containing a piece of armor. Roll on ART2. Okay, I'll be right back. I got to figure out what Krellis Quests means. Okay, I actually think this is pretty cool, although it's a little bit difficult for me to find. I don't know why. There is a section right here that says side quests. It's because I was looking through the tables. So what that said was Krellis quests, and it gave me some information about that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I'm just going to write Krellis quest here. And the reason that was a bit confusing is because as I go through the dungeon, I may or may not like get more encounters that have to do with Krellis's quest. And if I complete that, then I will get 50 XP additionally. So it's just kind of like a first clue of, you know, something that that happened. And so it might be a little out of context, but most likely in the first section, and I apologize, I didn't know that because I did not encounter a side quest last time. So on page 93, let's just reread that again. All right. What did I roll? A surprise, I rolled anything but a 2 and a 2. All right, so 5 and a 2. There is a chalkboard here that reads, Krellis the Cleric is delivering the package today. Excuse me. If you encounter a dark cleric, roll d6. So that doesn't mean anything to me. But maybe it would... Oh, I see. Okay, so going forward, if I encounter a dark cleric, I roll a d6. If I get 1 to 3 on that, the cleric is Krellis, and if I defeat him, I find a package containing a piece of armor on his person. All right, so let's review. I have just initiated Krellis's quest, which I can pick up, and I may encounter it again. I might not, but from here forward, if I encounter a dark cleric, which is a creature card, may or may not, then I roll a d6, and if it's 1 to 3, that's Krellis. If I defeat him, I find a package getting a piece of armor, and I roll on AR2. Great. I love it. I think, what was the thing I also wanted to say? Oh, the other thing that I forgot was that if you encounter more than one enemy, their shift goes up +1 per additional enemy to give them more of an advantage, which clearly they didn't need it. So I didn't do that on that combat, but I would have probably been dead. So the first enemy is +0, and then if there's 2, the second enemy gets +1. If there's 3 enemies, the second enemy gets +1, the third gets +3, etc. All right, so that was that room. So we're done with that one, and I know that the doors of that were, what are they called? Awning. They're the ones that are like wide open. Archway. Yeah, so I just go through the archway there. So I have a choice right here. I can go to the stone workshop. That's a large room. Why don't we go to a large room? See what that is all about. And this is the importance of labeling. I forgot to label the name of these rooms, and I want to go back and read what that last room said again, just to make sure. And I definitely would be doing that if I didn't was not recording a video right now. That'd be quite boring. But let's do a large room. So we're gonna do level 1 large rooms. I got my bookmarks, of course, all screwed up here. We'll just go to the back, check that out. Level 1 large rooms. Okay, 97. And while I'm flipping through the page, I just want to inform all the viewers that somebody is smoking cigarettes somewhere near my home, and I just really smell it. And I can't decide. I have not smoked a cigarette in about 10 years, but I used to smoke. And I can't decide if I'm extremely annoyed or if I'm just annoyed because I want a cigarette. Okay. For the hell of it, let's just roll again on this table. A 7. Okay, a temple. Dark murals line the walls. Empty pews form 2 lines. Chandeliers loaded with lit candles. These candles are lit. Hanging above, behind a pulpit stands a figure who attacks. Roll on L1R -1. So I have a feeling this is going to be a real level 1 religious enemies on page 95. Man, this is the worst church. It's like, hey, you should come by. We're having like a worship session. It's like, okay, cool. And I go there and it's just like, I'm just being attacked on every side. I guess, faith through pain. Okay, level 1 religious enemies. Roll 1d6. -1. Okay, 6. This is wild. Hell yeah. A dark cleric. And guess who it is? You know him. I know him. It's Krellis. Well, actually, wait a minute. I don't know if it is. I have to roll a 1d6, and if it's a 1 to a 3, it's Krellis. If not, it's just some other loser dark cleric. 3. All right. So we're going to find dark cleric here, and we're going to give him a what for. And so, again, I'm just looking through all the level 1 creatures. And dark cleric. Hello, Krellis. Okay, this guy is not messing around. HP 12. Get a nice bit of XP here. At least he's the only one. Has a +1 shift. I get a treasure. Get a +10 gold. Dark magic haze on secondary 1s, 2s, and 3s. Yeesh. And the dark cleric heals 1 point of damage if injured and gains 1 point if not. Oh man, this guy might kill me. A 3-3 or a 3-2 and a 4-3. All right, let's do it. So hello, Krellis. So I'm gonna roll. Put these over here, and let's try keep the fatigue at 1. Let's try to remember to keep track of people's primary and secondaries. All right, a 6 and a 2 for me. That is definitely not going to skills from Coriolis I was using as a bookmark. That is definitely not going to do anything for me. My shift is a 2, so we'll go to Krellis. And I guess he gains 1 point, but he's at max HP right now, which is 12, so I don't really Really have to think about that. I wish I had a little something for, I'll use this to represent. There we go. All right. 5-4 shift is a 1. And he has a 3-2 and a 4-3. So we can shift. Nope. Can't do that. Can't do that. Okay. Thankfully missed. So it'll go back around to me. 5 and a 5, and that is a no. Oh, by the way, that should be fatigued up to 2. 6 and a 1. He does not have anything, and just so that if you're following along, he has a 3-2 and a 4-3, so 6 and a 1 is not going to do much. Not going to do mush. Okay, great. A 2 and a 2. Oh, wait, this is a 3. And I believe now, no, on a 4, the shift die goes to 1. So this is really great. First of all, I rolled doubles. Does that mean anything? Probably not, because you either get it from rolling exactly what you want or 2 6s. That's called prime attack. But this is nice because I can shift down to a weighted charge. My primary at 1. And let's just check to see, does he have any interrupts? Dark Magic Haze on secondary 2s. Oh, okay, great. So he only heals 1 point of damage if injured and gains 1 point if not. So, and we have to pay attention to that even if the attack doesn't work. Because this would be perfect. This only has 1, 2, and 3 on there. We have to pay attention to that because he is like, even the primary and secondary still have implications even when it is not a successful attack. We're learning, okay? So if I hurt him right now, he'll heal 1 point of damage. So he heals 1 point of damage if injured and gains 1 point if not. Oh, I see. So if I don't injure him, he gains 1 point of damage. That's why I really need to be tracking this, because even if I roll a 2 on my secondary without him doing anything, without even like connecting on an attack, he'll still lose a point. But for now, it's nice. D6 plus 3. Let's give it a rollio. And nice. That is a 6. That's probably not very easy ones for you to see. So we'll do 6 plus 3. That's 9. And that's great because this guy is making me scared. So that's going to bring him down to 3, but he was injured. And so he will gain 1 point. That'll bring him to 4. But that's nice to draw first blood. Feels good. I like it. And you probably should have, it would have been statistically smart to use my scroll of reflex here, but I didn't. And, maybe I'll luck out because maybe that would have been wasted. Okay, so now he's up. Oof, a 1 and a 2. We do not have anything shifting yet, so he has a 2-3. So yeah, with just a shift 1, he will not. It won't do anything. So back to me. Now we're up to a 4, and we get 1 shift to use, which means I can use additional. I can shift points, and I got a 4-5, which normally would not be enough to hit a chop, but I'm going to use 1 of my shift points to bring the primary down to a 3, and I'm going to use 2 of my shift points to bring the chop down to a 3. Because this is a 3 on the secondary, he'll get an interrupt, and so he'll heal 1 point of damage if injured. So what I'm hoping here, it's a D6 minus 1. So what I'm hoping here is that I get enough that I at least roll a 5 so that I can just take him out regardless of whether he heals. And we rolled a 6. Oh, this is amazing. So he's gone, and this is going to be a nice haul here. So let's get greedy. All right, so The dark Krellis is dead. Ooh, so I get 50 XP. So that's going to 77 right off the bat because I completed Krellis's quest. Bye. I then get an additional 28. All right, so 20, 97 plus 8, 105. So I have leveled up. So I'm going to get 10 HP, and my max HP is going up by 10. Why can I never find... Are there any of you who like can find exactly the number you're looking for on a die? Because I never can. Is there people who have like a sense of where the numbers are? So my health is going to go up to 20. So now it's 20 out of 20. My precision is going to go up to a +1. And we haven't done any precision checks, and I don't think we'll get to it because this video is quite long already. But precision could be used for different kinds of like skill checks, I would say, as can discipline. So that's now a +1, and I get the +10 HP, and I get +10 gold coins. That's really nice because gold coins are worth the most. And I get to roll on a treasure of RPT2. These I should have read the description. These brooding magic wielders worship Meduva and harness the power of the dead, turning it upon their enemies. They wear textured gray and black cloaks and bow ties. No, I'm just kidding. And padded armor. Okay. Gosh, it reeks like cigarettes. Definitely. I've decided, and I definitely don't like it. Okay. So now we're just going to roll on RPT2 to say what we got. And let's just really quick color in this temple. That was awesome. The doors are wooden, which I don't think requires... I don't think they can be locked. You're supposed to roll on doors to see if they're locked, but I think only metal doors and reinforced doors would be locked. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. It is 1 a.m. All right, so let's check. We'll do RPT2, and then we'll do one more room. Religious pouch? Oh, RPT2, so I get religious pouch. Hopefully I get some more teeth. That's on page 82. I want to make a collection. How many teeth did you get, son? That's my dad's going to come and ask. Okay, RPT2, RPT2. All right, 7. Inside the pouch, there are some acorns which have been carved with small tree symbols. Awesome. Love me an acorn. I should also say, and this isn't something we'll do on this playthrough, but there is also a whole part of this where you can leave through like an escape hatch and go to town, which there's like a tavern there. You can sleep, you can buy stuff. So I think you do that. Not exactly sure if there are rules on when you can do that, but I think you can only do it once per level. So it would probably be good to use that at the right time. So I'm going to go into this room right here. It is a regular room. And so if we're doing regular level 1 rooms, I got my acorns in my pocket, and the other one is given a high five. I'm so good at singing that I bet you this video gets demonetized just because my singing will match the AI will not be able to tell the difference. Anyone ever play Kirby's? Like Kirby for Nintendo? No one can respond. I keep forgetting. All right, so we're going to go back to... I should know what this is by now, but level 1 rooms. It's probably going to be around page 95. All right, so these are the regular rooms. Let's roll here. And 5 and a 6. Dump. This space has been used to dump rubbish and stone, piles of which fill 2 corners. You can rummage. Oh, it's another rubbish room. Let's roll again since this will be the last room. I mean, not ever. 3 and 4. I don't want to just find another junk room. Prayer room. To one side is a wall mounted symbol above a small altar and a cushion. Roll a d6. 1 to 4, I roll on L1R. And after I search the room, if you survive, roll on rat 1. These exit here are curtains. So let's roll a d6. And I did get a 3, so I'm going to roll on L1R, which stands for liquid onesies. Remember? L1R. Level 1 religious enemy, 95. I'm going to make quick work of this punk now that I'm upgraded. Now that I got my 20 HP to swangle about. Put this back down to 1. L1R. Level 1. Roll a d6. 2. Cultist. Of course. Of course. And I'll probably... All right, so... Find a cultist. And don't leave yet. After this, I'm going to talk a little bit about my overall impressions of the game. And about the fact that I cannot find a cultist. 1 second. All right, I'm going to make my fan on too high. I'm going to make quick work of this bozo. All right, so this cultist has 5 HP. And we'll just... What they're going to be trying to roll is a 5-4. Their shift is 1. I get a little treasure. And if I roll secondary 4s or shift into it, it's -1 damage because they do a robe swoop. They're just swinging their robe around menacingly. But he did it menacingly. Okay, let's see if we can get anything fun to happen here. So I will go first. 5-4, and again, that's right now because my shift is 2. Not gonna do it. My shift is still 2. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. So then I'll go. But wait a minute. See, remember, I didn't remember my lesson. 5 and 4 on 4s. Well, that's the interrupt, so that doesn't count because it's -1 damage. So he needs a 5 and a 4. He's going to get a 1 and a 1, which is not a hit. But he did do a mishap attack roll. The cultist pulls a dagger and throws it, but falls at your feet. You throw it back for 2 damage. I love that. I love that for you, cultist. All right, let's try to wipe this punk out right now, right here. 1-4. And to do the weighted charge, I need a 1-2, which I can use my 2 shift points for that. Definitely going to destroy this guy. Secondary 4s. Wait a minute. Okay, good. Yeah. To do secondary is only on 4s, which means that I'm just going to roll a d6 and it'll be +3. 3 plus 3 is 6. He's dead. So my XP there would go up +6 to 11. And so on and so forth. Okay, and for treasure, we get a religious treasure from the pouch on 1. And just for good measure, let's check what that is. Any gold? No gold. All right. Religious pouch table 1. Honey, go check my religious pouch table 1. Teeth. 6. Folks, I'm not making it up. It's right here. I got another batch of human teeth. Okay, so yeah, that from there we would keep going until we got up to the stairs right there, and then we go down to level 2 and maybe go back to the town. But since we're at an hour and a half, I'm gonna wrap this up here, clear this away, and just give my thoughts on 2D6 Dungeon. Okay. So overall, this is an awesome dungeon crawl game. It does so many things in so many categories that I really wanted or didn't even know I wanted in other crawls such as 4AD. And it does it really well. The system is tight. It's conservative. You could tell that this is an experienced game designer because a lot of the bigger ideas have been, put into the 2d6 realms, which I like, having this separate expansion that's quite sizable. But, I think sometimes inexperience, myself included, when you start getting a lot of good ideas, you get very excited to put them in, and then there's this bloat, which makes things a bit overwhelming and uninviting to new players, complicated, and leads to a lot of people who kind of are like, well, this seems cool, but I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. I think other than going through looking for different tables, I hope that I showed that it is quite easy to work through this, and it has such a nice level of surprise and novelty. Okay, so if you've never heard me talk about 4AD, I have to give the usual disclaimer. I don't love 4AD, but it's just because it's different strokes for different folks. Like, I just don't prefer it. I just don't prefer that play experience. So I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's obviously a very good game because so many people enjoy it. I generally don't like dungeon crawls. I think that they are too limited. And one of the things that I often cite as not liking about them is that if you open a dungeon crawl, for instance, let me grab this. Okay, this is 96 Quest by one of the two creators, actually, Andreas Figlioi of For Against Darkness. This is a very basic dungeon crawl, and this is a fun game. I am certain of it if you're interested in these kind of things. However, I got this pretty early in, like trying to acquaint myself with solo role playing. And I remember thinking, in these 28 pages is all that's going to happen in this book, right? And so you take like right here, these minor foes. I know that these are the minor foes that I'm going to see in the game. These are the major ones. And these are the missions. There's 6 of them. And most heartbreaking to me is because I am somebody who, like, I love the possibility of getting new weapons. And this started very early in my life for the first Legend of Zelda for Nintendo, where it was like you have the brown sword and then the silver sword and then the magic sword. And it was like the idea of like this more powerful weapon out there. And yeah, some games just get totally carried away with that. I mean, you look at some of these loot shooters or like Diablo, where there's 75,000 randomized weapons and it takes away a little bit of that. But, right here, here's all the magic items, and that's it. Like, I know that I'm never going to see anything here than what is on these pages. Again, some people really like that, especially people who like sort of that repetitive play cycle and seeing like what could be done within the constraints of that play cycle. For me, the thing that's missing in dungeon crawls that is in games like Starforge, Across a Thousand Dead Worlds, is that there is something that can be abstracted from what is there. And so what is on the page is just a start. And from that, infinite possibilities can come forth. Okay. And with dungeon crawls, it has always felt very constrained to me. And so I've always had this feeling of like, why am I playing this? It just is like a choose your own adventure that I have to sort of like put together myself. 2d6 Dungeon feels very different than that. And it's actually not for the reasons that you might think. There are mechanics in here to create some narrative moments, what Toby calls inventive usage, right? Where you can sort of say, okay, well, maybe this corpse, I could like drain the blood from it, and then I can use this later. And I actually think that still is a little bit limited. I think it's interesting and it's a good start and provides room for that. But when you have something that's so driven by mechanics, there's only so many things, for instance, that I can do with that blood. And if I do more with that blood, if I say, oh, I'm going to create a blood sword, I could do that, but then I'm starting to color outside of the rules and the structure of the game. And whereas you could say, well, you always say, man alone, it's a solo game, do what you want. The thing is that games are the creation of artificial barriers or impediments to achieving a goal. And so you have to believe in those barriers at all to undertake the conceit of playing a game. So if I wanted to, of course, I could just go to the last page and be like, I won the game, and then throw it in the fire, right? And so I think, though, that this is on the right course. There is this imagination mixed with common sense. There's stuff about creating narrative moments, especially when you go back to town. There's some like what might be called flavor here. You can attract the favor of the gods. There's what's happening at a tavern. Some of them have mechanical stuff. Some of them don't. Bartering, arm wrestling table. I think that's really cool. That is actually not the reason that I am able to appreciate this game given what I like. And it is also not because of 2d6 Realms, which I thought it would be, although it is undoubtedly here. There's even more room for some creating some of my own stories, simply because it introduces different factions. There are different ancestries for characters that you can use, which is very cool. There's definitely creating lore and looking into like the different exchanges that happen as you go to war with different people and what could that mean and stuff like that. That's awesome. And again, I really appreciate what Toby is doing, because I think actually he's messing with the formula here. And I think something incredible is going to come when you mess with the formula. And I want to encourage Toby to keep messing with that formula, because I feel that there is some new point of convergence between this and something like Ironsworn that we're working towards. It's this kind of stuff that's establishing that. The actual reason I like it is because these tables, albeit, I probably, if I play again, I will play again. When I do, I'm going to tag this up so that the navigation is easier. That's really, to me, only the only sort of tedium that happens. And especially with the combat's so snappy in this game that I want this to be snappy as well. Now, there's no way to make this easy, because if you were to say, oh, well, the solution of this is to minimize these tables, that is, please no. Because what is awesome about these tables is that it is simply too much data for me to know what's coming. Even though it's functionally the same as like 4 Against Darkness, where there's 12 different treasures and I'll get one of those 12, there is a finite number of things on here, but it's so high. There's so many different things, and they change with each level of the dungeon that goes down. I have new rooms. I have different enemies. I have upgraded items. I have all this new unexpected things. I follow these side quests. It's so big. Plus, there's new rules on each level. There's like new sort of restrictions, like without spoiling here, messes with the room sequence once you get to level 6. On level 8, there's smaller rooms, more corridors. You can flee monsters. So I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil anything. But there is so much here that it does feel limitless. It does feel limitless, and it feels like I'm not going to have the same experience as other people, even though I have the same set, okay? So that piece of it I really like, and I like combat. Here are a couple things that I wish for. The character creation, that was great that it happened so quick. Uh, One of the things that kills me about some games is this idea of creating a character when I have no idea what the implications of it would be. And I guess to some extent, it's like kind of fun. You're rolling the dice, but it's really not fun when you're like, oh, I really want to put all my stuff into intellect so that my character is real sharp and I can use that. And then like the whole game's combat. And so I'm just like getting my ass handed to me because my character's sitting there being like, well, actually, and pushing their glasses up on the bridge of their nose. I like that. I would like just a little bit more customization options. And I think, again, in 2D6 Realms, there is the ancestries. I just need a little more on my character. Their name and which of the 3 weapons they use is not enough for me to know them. I need to know a little bit more of their background. Again, a lot of this is addressed, I think, starting to or is addressing expansion, but part of what is going to make a lot of these narrative and inventive usage moments possible is if I have a relationship with my main character and I need to know them more. So there is a sweet spot in keeping it snappy while at the same time giving me a little bit more. I really like that I just have to choose a weapon and I go and choose and get different moves for it. I think that's really fun. And I think that that is a risk that paid off, right? Because some people, there would be the concern on my part that people will be like, oh, there's only 3 weapons, but the various attacks and mechanics and how you're trying to like not just get over a certain amount, but is a precision game, and I can switch those attacks out and figure out which ones are more apt for which situation or whatever. That's really cool. I would love just a few more. I'd like just a few more options there and an option to change that around because, again, one of the things I used to love in early video games, there's this game called Faxanadu for Nintendo. And I tried playing it a couple years ago, and the controls are awful. The game is really bad. The graphics are really bad. The story makes no sense. But it is a legendary game that is part of some of the best memories of my life. And one of the things about it in that game that was unique to games, that to this day sometimes games don't do this, is when you changed your armor, it changed how your character looked. And so, or when you're holding a different weapon, the weapon looks different in the character's hand. And when that didn't happen in a game, I really felt bummed out. And so I very much am visual about like thinking what my character looks like, what's in their hand, what they're wearing, how that affects them. I might even draw them sometimes if I'm really drawn in by a character. And so I just would like a little bit more on that. And I think the level scaling in this game, as far as what I've seen, I just, on my own, obviously I've just played level 1 and 2 and level 1 and also read through it, but there is obviously a very strong consideration of that given like all these different levels. The presentation, I think I think it does take a little bit away from it in that it just looks very, very dense. And I don't actually think it takes anything away from actually playing it, but I do know that there's a certain type of player that will see this and just be too intimidated by it. It looks like there's too much to read and too much to digest, and they just want to see a player card that looks like a Marvel Overpower card from 1997, where it just has like strength, agility, power. It really isn't difficult, but I think, again, I think about it in like how inviting is the game. It also just feels a bit boring, I think, in terms of the level of differentiation between these is quite low, and it looks very repetitive, and there's nothing to distinguish it. So even using maybe like different colors would do a lot here, because not everybody can do it all. As much as people would like to say that, an RPG maker should be, responsible for the art and the lore and the mechanics and everything. You know what? It's hard to be good at all 3 of those. And I read a super insulting discussion thread the other day where somebody's like, hey, I'm really good at writing and I'm really good at the mechanics, but I just suck at art. And so would you say like I shouldn't use AI? I should just hire people because I really don't have money. So like, isn't AI for me then? Because I'm the good audience for that. I don't have any money. I'm young. And there were tons of responses that were like, the only reason you're not good at art is because you haven't practiced. And I think to an extent that's correct, but there's an upper limit on that. Like I could practice every single day and I'm never going to be as good as BB. I'm never, it's just ridiculous. Like there is a certain level of talent. And so, whereas I think art can be serviceable at a certain extent, there's an upper limit to that. And I don't want to get into the AI thing. It's already boring me and the apocalypse hasn't even come yet. But there is like a lot of cool art on these cards that gets shoved into the corner and stuff like that. And I would just like it to shine a little bit more. I would have to stare at this and play around with some things to figure out what it is about the presentation of this that makes it look a little bit claustrophobic. I would have to play around with it to figure out how to fix it. I shouldn't say fix it. You know what I mean? Like to say, hey, take a look at this. What do you think about this? But it's fine. I think making these kind of things stand out a little bit more. Again, I'm not a great audience because I have protanopia, like a certain type of color blindness. I know that this is a different color, but these look very similar to me. And I think the lore does a fantastic job of leaving enough space, but also putting enough in there with the 2d6 realms. With the 2d6 dungeon, it was a little bit sparse, which I don't totally mind. It's just that, again, if we want people to be like, have that ability to craft a narrative, we want there to be enough for them to understand the universe that it exists within. The dungeon creation is clean, fun, and honestly, it's the first dungeon creation that I didn't have to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. It was right away. The rules are pretty clear, and Toby Lancaster is an exceptional rule writer. I mean, so many sentences in here that it would take me 4 paragraphs to write. He got it in 2 sentences. And so, yeah, I think it's incredible. I'm curious to hear what everybody else thinks about the game and if they've had any experiences with it and if it's changed their minds at all about dungeon crawls, but it certainly has changed my mind. It was just a really fun time. And I can't wait to see like where we can go from here. And that's not just Toby, but I think all of us. I think I'm really interested in where, how we can move this. And I say this a lot, but how we can move this forward, solo play, and keep inventing new stuff. So thank you, Toby, and thank you again, Tabletop Engineer Plays, for this fantastic board as well. I am probably going to use this for several games, just so you know. Okay, bye. Oh no, was this video 2 hours long? Nobody's gonna